In today's video, I'm going to test out PYD Life's new dual tumbler press. They sent over this press and I am very excited to give you my full review. Let's get it out of the box. This machine can press 16, 20, and 30-ounce straight tumblers, as well as 18-ounce glass cans and 22-ounce water bottles. It might be able to press more, but that is what is listed on their website. It can press 2 tumblers at the same time, which is so awesome. It comes with an instruction booklet, which is really nice. It shows how to use the machine in time and temps. Sorry, you can't really see it here. Let's get the machine out of the packaging. One thing I noticed right away is the press does have a smell and it's not even turned on yet or pressing yet. I actually have a tumbler press from Heat Transfer Warehouse and that had a smell at first too, so it must be with how they make it or something with the heat plate, but hopefully after a few uses that will dissipate. For this machine, being able to press 2 tumblers at the same time, I'm really impressed with the size. It is not too big. It's 12.8 inches on one side and 11.8 inches on the other side, and that is about the same as my regular tumbler press. When both heat plates are open, it's around 19 inches. On the top of the machine, there's 2 control panels and each one has an arrow showing which heat plate belongs to which control panel. So I'll definitely be leaving those on there because I know I would forget without it. It has 2 toggle latches on the top. When you press them down, it opens up both sides of the heat plates. On the front, it has the 2 green buttons to turn them on. You can use both at the same time or you can just use one at a time. There's pressure knobs on each side, and what's really cool about that is you don't have to use 2 of the same tumblers at the same time. You can use, let's say, a 20-ounce tumbler and a glass can tumbler, which is what I'll be doing in today's video. On the back is where you plug in the power cord. This is a 3-prong plug, which is great. Those are a lot safer when you have machines like this. PYD Life sent over sublimation paper and butcher paper. What I love about this butcher paper is it's already cut. I have a big roll, but that's so much easier. I typically use A-sub paper, and you can see me circling the 125. There's different weight types for sublimation paper, and since I'm doing a wrap, I want to use the thinnest paper. Theirs is 120, but I want to use the 105. I just feel like it helps with that seam. PYD Life also sent over their double wall stainless steel sublimation tumbler. That's the 20-ounce, and their sublimation glass cans. These are the frosted cans. These come with instructions as well, which is really nice, and it's a pack of 4. I'm just going to open up one of these, and you can see it comes with the straw, which is really nice. It's a metal straw, and the lid. These are really good tumblers. They're stainless steel, and they're just a really good size to sublimate on. These sublimation glass cans are frosted, like I said, and it comes in a pack of 6. What's really cool is these come with the straws and lids. Some of those glass cans, like the Libby brand, they do not come with the lid or straws. Here's what these look like. These are beautiful to sublimate on. You just have to be a little careful when you're using these, washing them, because they can scratch a little bit easier. Next, I'm going to figure out my measurement for my 20-ounce tumbler. For my height, I'm going to do 7.9 inches. You can see it's about 8 inches, but it curves down a little bit, so I feel like 7.9 will be good, and PYD Life recommends doing 7.9. Then I measure around the tumbler to figure out my width for my design, and what I got was 9 3/8 inches, which is 9.375, and PYD Life says to do 9.3 for the wrap, but that seems like that will be too short. I'm going to put my designs together in Canva. I'll click on my tumbler wrap first. I found both of these designs from Creative Fabrica, so I will put the links down below if you are interested in them. First, I'm just going to rotate this. It fits better when it goes this way. To size it, I'm going to click on position. Like you just saw me measure around the tumbler, it was 9.375 inches. I do want to make it just a tiny bit bigger so there's just a little bit of overlap to help with that seam. So I am going to make it 9.4 inches. Typically, I kind of try to go about 1/8 of an inch bigger. That's not quite 1/8 of an inch, but I think it'll be good. I'm going to type in 9.4 for my width. And then I'm going to type in 7.9 for my height. You can see it cuts it off just a little bit, so I'm going to double click in here and slide it over. I'll just cut off a little bit of the red, which is fine. I'll hit done, and that one looks good. Now I'll come down here and grab my other image. I'm going to move this in a little bit. I like to do that. I don't know if I have to or not, but another way you can size it is just drag it and you see a little black box pop up. I want it to be 3 inches for the width and about 4 inches for the height. So right there. I'm just going to move this up to the side. Now I can click share and download these onto my computer. I went to my downloads. Here's my image. I'm going to go up to File, Print. I'm on a Mac computer. I have it set up with my sublimation printer, and I have a preset for sublimation. I'll show you my settings here. I'm under Printer Options, Print Settings, and here is my print settings. And for my color matching, I have Cosmos ink that I'm using. I'll hit print. I'll follow the exact same process for the other one. I grab my sublimation paper and put it in the printer. When I first started printing this, about halfway through, the green was coming out yellow. I don't have it filming here, but I will put a picture up on the screen. So I did a nozzle check and my entire blue segments were missing. So I had to do print head cleaning after print head cleaning. It took me like 2 hours. It was awful. For this image, I meant to use PYD Life sublimation paper because I'm not doing a wrap, and I totally forgot. So I'm bummed that I didn't get to try it out, but here is my other image printing. Before adding the sublimation paper, I want to make sure my tumbler fits in the tumbler press. So I place it inside and then I push against the tumbler. As you can see, I can easily push it. So it's not tight enough. I adjust the knobs and tighten those, then test that out. I'm able to close it, and when I press against it again, it doesn't move. You don't want it to be too tight where you're struggling to even close the press, but you don't want that tumbler to move. For the other side, I'm going to be pressing the glass can, so I just make sure that everything is good with that one, and it was already perfect where it was at. I turn both sides on by pressing both of the green buttons. They'll both automatically start heating up. Then I grab my little booklet and I see what I need to set both of the time and temps for. The bottom one is for the 20-ounce tumbler. I hit the set button, then I lower the temperature to 365. Then I hit the set button again, and I want it at 60 seconds, so I hit set again. It was already set to that. For the top one, I'm using the glass can. I hit the set button, then change the temperature to 365 also. I press set once I have that. Then I change the time all the way up to 280 seconds. Once that's done, I will hit set again. Now I'm going to prepare both of my tumblers. I take a lint roller and I clean off the tumbler. With sublimation ink, it's very picky. If there's any lint or dust on whatever surface you're putting on, it will show up through that ink. Here's the design for my 20 ounce. I take a paper cutter and cut off all 4 of those white edges. You want to make sure you have it as close as possible because you have your measurements kind of lined up exactly for wraps. To add this to the tumbler, I like to turn it upside down because I want the edge of the paper on the edge of the opening of the tumbler. Then I pull the paper as tight as I can, and I want just a tiny little bit of the paper to overlap, and I take my tape and press it right in the center. After that, I add tape on the top and the bottom. I try to make sure I have it lined up as best as I can. Then I add tape along the whole seam. I am somebody who over tapes. I feel like I know everybody does this part differently. Next, I take my scraper tool and I run it along where the paper meets. It's supposed to help with the seam. I saw people doing this on TikTok, and honestly, I don't know if it really helps or not, but I do it anyways. For my other sheet, I just take scissors and I cut around the design. I already have the tumbler lint rolled, so I line up my design on the tumbler. I add a piece of tape on one edge, then I just make sure I have this nice and tight as well, and place tape on the other edge. Once I'm done with that, I place tape around the entire design. This tape dispenser is absolutely amazing. If you do sublimation, I feel like it's a must-have because it automatically cuts the tape for you. It just makes my life so much easier when I'm doing sublimation projects. I get into the PYD Life butcher paper. Like I said earlier, I love that these are already pre-cut. That makes things a lot easier too. And I just wrap it around both tumblers and just add some tape to hold it together. My machine is all ready. I go in to add my tumbler and I could not get it closed. So I don't know if it's because the paper just adds just a little too much. So I guess next time before turning on my tumbler, I'll just have the paper on first to test it. But I just loosened the knobs just a little bit and I was able to get it closed. To start the press, you hit the clear button, which seems like it would clear the whole thing out, but that is actually the start button. I add my glass jar and I had the same issue. I couldn't get it closed. So I just loosened the knobs just a little bit. I think I twisted it just a couple times. You also want to twist the knobs evenly so it has that even pressure. But once I did that, I was able to close it. Then I hit the clear button so it'll start counting down. It's hard to see the control panel here, but they're both counting down. It is just so cool that not only you can sublimate 2 tumblers at the same time, you can do 2 different tumblers and have it set to totally different times, different temps if you needed to. You can hear the beep, which means it's done. Since there's a little slit in the opening of the tumbler press, you need to turn the tumbler a little bit and press it for another 60 seconds. I was struggling to get it closed again, but I also like to use that heat-resistant glove to do that. That will count down for another 60 seconds. You can see that the top one is still counting down since it's a lot longer, and the other one is almost done. I put my heat press mat next to the press. When it's done, I take it out and let it sit on there and cool off a little bit. The glass jar is done, so I take it out of the tumbler press, then I just press the 2 buttons to turn it off. Now that it's cooled off some, I remove the butcher paper and my sublimation paper. This is always the scary part, taking off the paper, but it's looking very vibrant and colorful. If there is some little white specks on it, that's usually just part of the paper. All you have to do is get a wet washcloth and it'll just rub right off. Next, I remove the paper from the glass tumbler. This also had some little white specks on it, so I cleaned that off with a washcloth, and I will show these close up here in just a second. Here's what the tumbler looks like. I didn't get the paper up high enough on the top. You can see a little white space. Here's the seam. It looks like I didn't have it lined up just right. You can see here, and it looks like I had it almost overlapping a little too much. I decided to do another tumbler. On PYD Life's website, it says to do 9.3 inches for a wrap, and I thought I might as well try it since this is overlapping a little too much. And this is what it ended up looking like. There's obviously a gap in there. I should have known there would be a gap because when I measured it myself, it measured 9.375, so obviously 9.3 wouldn't be big enough, but that was even a larger gap than I thought. I tried one last one. I wanted it to be 9.375, but Canva automatically changed it to 9.38, but I definitely had the best results for this. I felt like I had it lined up really well, and you can obviously still see the seam, but I am really happy with that. I don't think with this type of design, there's a way to not see the seam. Let me know in the comments, but I think if this was all like a solid color, you wouldn't have even seen it. Here's kind of a final look of the tumbler, and overall I just love how colorful and vibrant this is, and I just think it turned out really cute. Here's how the glass can turn out. I think it looks so colorful and is sublimated really well on the frosted glass. The only thing I realized is my design isn't very fitting for it because I typically drink iced coffee out of this instead of hot cocoa, but it probably doesn't matter. It's things that I love, so I'll probably still drink my iced coffee out of this. I always like to give my thoughts on the machine at the end. I didn't mention the price. The price is $4.79 on Amazon. They do have a 30% off right now, so I do feel like they have those quite a bit. So that makes it $3.35 before tax. I like to give my pros and cons of the machine. So for the con, I feel like the only one is the smell, and it does seem like after a few uses that does get better. For me, the biggest plus of the machine is that you can sublimate 2 tumblers at the same time and 2 different size tumblers if you want to, which is so awesome. I feel like that could definitely help with productivity, especially if you are running a small business. Overall, the machine is user-friendly. I also forgot to mention that it heated up fast. For being a dual tumbler press, it is a great size, and it also sublimated really well. The colors were nice and vibrant. I would love to hear your thoughts on the machine. Also, if you have any tips for seams on tumbler wraps, let us know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new.